I thought I had seen everything in my years covering courtroom cases. I thought I understood the depths of cruelty people could reach. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for the case of Dr. Marcus J. Weston and what he did to 7-year-old Emma Rodriguez on the worst night of her life. Sometimes the people we trust most with our lives are the ones who fail us in ways we cannot imagine. If stories like this matter to you, if you believe that every child deserves protection, no matter what their parents can afford, then subscribe to this channel right now. We are telling the stories that need to be heard, the stories that make us question everything we thought we knew about the systems meant to protect us. Hit that subscribe button because this story will make you feel things you have not felt in a long time. Dr. Marcus J. Weston was 52 years old and one of the highest paid emergency room physicians at Mercy General Hospital in suburban Phoenix. He drove a silver Porsche 911 that cost more than most families make in 2 years. He wore a Rolex Submariner that caught the light every time he checked a patient's pulse. He lived in a gated community called Desert Vista Estates, where the smallest house cost $1.3 million. His colleagues described him as brilliant but cold. His nurses whispered that he treated patients differently, based on how they were dressed when they came through those automatic doors. Emma Rodriguez was 7 years old, with dark brown eyes and a smile that her kindergarten teacher said could light up the darkest room. She loved drawing pictures of butterflies and wanted to be a veterinarian when she grew up because she cried every time she saw a hurt animal. Her mother, Sofia Rodriguez, worked 2 jobs, one cleaning offices at night and another serving lunch at an elementary school cafeteria during the day. They lived in a small apartment on the east side of Phoenix where the rent took most of what Sofia earned. They did not have health insurance because Sofia's employers only gave her part-time hours at both jobs, so they would not have to offer benefits. It happened on October 8th at 9:43 p.m. Emma had been complaining about stomach pain all day, but Sofia thought it was something she ate. By evening, Emma was crying and holding her side. By 9 o'clock, Emma's skin was burning hot and she was vomiting. Sofia grabbed her daughter, ran to their neighbor's car, and drove 15 minutes to Mercy General Hospital. She carried Emma through those automatic doors at 9:43 p.m., her daughter's head resting on her shoulder, her own heart pounding so hard she thought it would break through her chest. The triage nurse took one look at Emma's pale face and rushed them into an examination room within minutes. Emma was crying softly. Sofia was holding her hand and whispering in Spanish that everything would be okay. The nurse took Emma's temperature. It was 104.7 degrees. She checked Emma's blood pressure and called for the attending physician immediately. That physician was Dr. Marcus J. Weston. He walked into that examination room at 9:58 p.m. wearing scrubs that probably cost more than Sofia's weekly grocery budget and that Rolex catching the fluorescent lights. He did not wash his hands before touching Emma. He pressed on her abdomen for maybe 30 seconds while Emma screamed in pain. Then he looked at Sofia and asked the question that would change everything. He said, "What insurance do you have?" Sofia's voice was shaking when she answered. She said, "I do not have insurance right now, but I can pay. I will pay whatever it costs. Please just help my daughter." Dr. Weston stepped back from the examination table. He looked at Sofia with an expression that the nurse later described as disgust. And then he said the words that would end up costing him everything. He said, "This hospital is not a charity. Your daughter has a stomach ache. Give her some Tylenol and take her to the county clinic in the morning. We need this room for real emergencies." Sofia begged him. She said, "Please, doctor, something is very wrong. She has never been this sick. Please just examine her properly." Dr. Weston was already walking toward the door. He said without turning around, "I made my assessment. Discharge them." And he left. He just left that room with a 7-year-old child burning with fever and crying in pain on that examination table. The triage nurse, a woman named Patricia Chen, stood frozen in shock. She had been a nurse for 19 years and had never seen a doctor refuse to treat a child. But Dr. Weston was her superior, and she had a family to feed, and she was terrified of losing her job. So she gave Sophia discharge papers and watched as this mother carried her crying daughter back out through those automatic doors at 10:11 p.m. If you are still watching this story, if you feel what I am feeling right now, then I need you to do something. Subscribe to this channel because we are committed to exposing injustice wherever we find it. We are building a community of people who believe that children like Emma deserve better, that systems need to be held accountable, that silence is complicity. Subscribe now and be part of that mission. Help us reach more people with stories that need to be told. Your subscription is not just a number to us. It is a statement that you stand for something. Sophia did not know what else to do. She drove to another hospital, St. Luke's Medical Center, that was 23 minutes away. She carried Emma through those doors at 10:47 p.m. The doctor there, Dr. Angela Martinez, examined Emma for less than 2 minutes before calling for emergency surgery. Emma's appendix had ruptured. The infection was spreading through her small body. Emma went into emergency surgery at 11:19 p.m. She was in that operating room for 2 hours and 47 minutes. Dr. Martinez told Sophia afterward that if they had waited even one more hour, Emma would have died. Emma spent 8 days in the pediatric intensive care unit fighting an infection that spread through her bloodstream because her appendix had been ruptured for over an hour before anyone helped her. She had 3 additional surgeries to clean out the infection. She almost died twice. The hospital bill came to $287,000. St. Luke's Medical Center forgave the entire amount and never asked Sophia for a single dollar. But this story does not end there. Nurse Patricia Chen could not sleep that night. She could not stop seeing Emma's face. She filed a report with the hospital's patient advocate office the next morning. She filed a complaint with the Arizona Medical Board that same day. She contacted a lawyer who specialized in medical malpractice, and she called local news stations until one of them listened. The Arizona Medical Board launched an investigation on October 15th. They interviewed every staff member who had been working that night. They pulled security camera footage that showed Dr. Weston spending exactly 1 minute and 43 seconds in Emma's examination room. They obtained Emma's medical records from St. Luke's that documented the ruptured appendix and life-threatening sepsis. They interviewed Dr. Martinez, who stated in writing that Emma's condition at 10:47 p.m. was consistent with an appendix that had been ruptured for at least an hour, meaning it had likely already ruptured or was rupturing when Dr. Weston examined her at 9:58 p.m. The medical board suspended Dr. Weston's license on November 2nd, pending a full hearing. But Sophia wanted more than that. She wanted him to face criminal charges. The county prosecutor initially declined, saying it would be hard to prove criminal intent. But public pressure became overwhelming after the news story aired. Over 40,000 people signed a petition demanding prosecution. The prosecutor reopened the case and charged Dr. Weston with child endangerment and violation of the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, a federal law that requires hospitals to provide emergency care regardless of ability to pay. The trial was set for March 12th. That morning, Dr. Marcus Weston arrived at the courthouse in a black Mercedes S-Class, wearing a suit that probably cost $3,000. He walked with his head high and his lawyer by his side. He looked annoyed, like this was an inconvenience interrupting his important life. Sofia Rodriguez arrived 30 minutes later, holding Emma's hand. Emma was wearing a simple blue dress that Sophia had bought at Target for $19. Sophia wore a dress she had borrowed from her sister because she could not afford to buy something appropriate for court. Emma still had a scar on her abdomen from the surgeries. She walked slowly because her stomach still hurt sometimes. They sat in the courtroom and waited for justice to either arrive or abandon them one more time. Some of you watching this might wonder why I care so much about this case. Let me tell you something I have never shared publicly before. When I was 9 years old, my younger brother got sick. He had meningitis. My parents were immigrants working minimum wage jobs with no health insurance. We took him to an emergency room, and a doctor whose name I still remember 30 years later, told my parents the same thing Dr. Weston told Sophia. He said to take my brother to a county clinic in the morning. My brother died 8 hours later. So when I heard about Emma, when I heard what Dr. Weston said in that examination room, I saw my brother's face. I heard my mother's screams when they told us he was gone. This case is not just a story to me. It is every family who has ever been told their child does not matter because they do not have the right insurance card. The prosecution called Nurse Patricia Chen as their first witness. She walked to that stand with her head held high. She testified about everything she saw that night. She said, Dr. Weston looked at Sophia and Emma like they were not worth his time. He spent less than 2 minutes with a child who was clearly in severe distress. When Sophia begged him to reconsider, he said, and I will never forget these exact words, he said, I do not get paid enough to waste time on people who cannot pay their bills. The courtroom gasped. Several jury members shook their heads. Dr. Weston sat at the defense table, showing no emotion at all. The prosecution called Dr. Angela Martinez next. She explained in medical terms what Emma's condition had been when she arrived at St. Luke's. She said, Emma was in septic shock. Her appendix had clearly ruptured at least an hour before I saw her. Any competent physician examining her at 9:58 p.m. would have recognized the signs of acute appendicitis, fever of 104.7 degrees, severe right lower quadrant pain, elevated white blood cell count, which was documented in the discharge papers from Mercy General. These are textbook symptoms. There is no excuse for missing this diagnosis. If you believe that every child deserves a doctor who sees them as a human being first and a billing code second, then subscribe to this channel right now. We are not here for entertainment. We are here because we believe in accountability, because we believe in shining light in dark places, because we believe that people like Dr. Weston need to face consequences when they fail in the most fundamental duty of their profession. Subscribe and join a community that refuses to look away when the vulnerable are ignored. Your subscription tells us to keep fighting, keep investigating, keep telling these stories. Subscribe now. Sofia Rodriguez took the stand on the second day of the trial. She was shaking so hard the judge asked if she needed a moment. She said no, she wanted to speak. The prosecutor asked her to describe that night. Sophia started crying before she even began talking. She said, I have never felt so small in my life. I was begging this man to help my baby, and he looked at me like I was garbage. Like my daughter's life did not matter because I could not hand him an insurance card. I will never forget the way he looked at Emma, like she was not even a real person to him. Just an inconvenience. The prosecutor asked Sophia what she would say to Dr. Weston if she could. Sophia turned and looked directly at him. She said, You almost killed my daughter because you decided her life was not worth 20 minutes of your time. You made that choice. You looked at a 7-year-old child and decided she did not deserve your help. I will never understand how someone becomes that cold. Dr. Weston stared straight ahead. No reaction, no remorse, nothing. The defense's strategy was predictable. Dr. Weston's lawyer argued that his client had made a judgment call, that emergency rooms are busy places with limited resources, that doctors have to make difficult decisions about which patients need immediate care. The lawyer said, Dr. Weston believed based on his examination that Emma's condition was not immediately life-threatening and could be appropriately handled at a county clinic. He was wrong, yes, but being wrong is not a crime. Then Dr. Weston himself took the stand. His lawyer asked him to explain his actions that night. Dr. Weston sat up straight in his expensive suit and said, I see dozens of patients every shift. Many of them are people without insurance who come to the ER for minor complaints because they know we cannot turn them away. It drains hospital resources. It makes it harder to treat people with real emergencies. I assessed Emma and believed her condition was not serious. I made a medical judgment. The prosecutor stood up for cross-examination. She said, Dr. Weston, Emma had a fever of 104.7 degrees. She was vomiting. She had severe abdominal pain. You spent 1 minute and 43 seconds examining her. Do you believe that was adequate time to properly assess a child with those symptoms? Dr. Weston said, I have been practicing emergency medicine for 24 years. I can assess a patient quickly. The prosecutor said, "Did Emma's lack of insurance play any role in your decision to discharge her?" Dr. Weston hesitated. Then he said, "I do not treat patients differently based on their insurance status." The prosecutor pulled out a piece of paper. She said, "I have a statement from another nurse, Jennifer Walsh, who says she heard you say multiple times over the past year, and I quote, 'The uninsured patients are killing this hospital.' Did you say that?" Dr. Weston's jaw tightened. He said, "Possibly. It is a frustration many physicians share, but it did not affect my medical judgment." The prosecutor leaned forward. She said, "Nurse Chen testified that you said you do not get paid enough to waste time on people who cannot pay their bills. Did you say that?" Dr. Weston said, "I do not recall saying that." The prosecutor said, "You do not recall? It was 5 months ago. You do not recall telling a mother begging for help that you do not get paid to waste time on her dying daughter?" Dr. Weston said nothing. The courtroom was completely silent. You could hear people breathing. That silence said more than any words could. Take a moment and subscribe to this channel if you have not already. We are here every day bringing you stories of justice, injustice, and the fight to make our systems work for everyone. When you subscribe, you are telling us that these stories matter to you, that Emma's story matters to you. You are joining thousands of others who believe that we can demand better from the people we trust with our lives. Subscribe and be part of this mission. The jury deliberated for 3 hours and 17 minutes. When they came back into that courtroom, you could feel the tension in the air like electricity. The forewoman stood up. The judge asked if they had reached a verdict. She said yes. The judge asked what their verdict was on the charge of child endangerment. The forewoman said guilty. The judge asked what their verdict was on the charge of violating the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act. The forewoman said guilty. Dr. Marcus J. Weston closed his eyes. Sofia Rodriguez collapsed into her sister's arms, sobbing. Emma, who was sitting next to her mother, did not really understand what was happening, but she knew something important had occurred. The courtroom erupted in applause until the judge called for order. Sentencing was scheduled for 2 weeks later on March 29th. That day, the courtroom was packed with people. News cameras lined the back wall. Medical professionals sat in the gallery on both sides, some supporting Dr. Weston, others supporting Emma and Sophia. Judge Catherine Morrison, a woman who had been on the bench for 18 years and was known for her fairness and her unwillingness to tolerate injustice, sat at her bench and looked at Dr. Weston for a long moment before she spoke. "You need to hear this because this is one of the most powerful moments I have ever witnessed in any courtroom." Judge Morrison said, "I am ordering you to pay a fine of $500,000. Half of that money will go to St. Luke's Medical Center to help cover the cost of care for uninsured children. The other half will go to a fund established to help families like the Rodriguez family who face medical emergencies without insurance. You are a wealthy man, Dr. Weston. You will use some of that wealth to help the people you turned away." The judge paused. Dr. Weston was staring at the table in front of him. Judge Morrison continued, "I am also ordering that your medical license be permanently revoked in the state of Arizona. You will never practice medicine in this state again. The medical board has already indicated they will recommend this revocation be recognized nationally. Your career as a physician is over because you forgot the fundamental promise every doctor makes, to do no harm and to treat every patient with dignity regardless of their ability to pay." The judge paused again. The courtroom was holding its breath. Then Judge Morrison said, "And there is one more thing. I am ordering you to complete 2,000 hours of community service at free clinics serving uninsured and underserved populations. You will see the faces of people like Sofia Rodriguez. You will help children like Emma, and maybe, just maybe, you will remember why you became a doctor in the first place. You will complete this service over the next 3 years, and if you fail to complete it, you will serve 18 months in county jail." But Judge Morrison was not done. She looked directly at Dr. Weston and said, "You took an oath. You swore to protect life. You swore to treat every patient with respect and dignity. And when you walked into that examination room on October 8th, you looked at a 7-year-old child who was dying and you decided she was not worth your time because her mother could not pay. That decision almost killed Emma Rodriguez. It would have killed her if not for Dr. Martinez and the staff at St. Luke's who remembered what it means to be a healer. The judge's voice got quieter, but somehow more powerful. She said, "You are a brilliant man, Dr. Weston. Your colleagues testified about your skills, your knowledge, your ability to save lives. But all of that means nothing if you have lost your humanity. Sofia Rodriguez came to you at her most vulnerable moment as a mother, begging you to help her child. And you turned her away because you had decided that some lives matter more than others based on their bank accounts." Judge Morrison looked at Dr. Weston's wife and adult children who were sitting in the front row. She said, "I see your family is here today. I hope they are proud of the man you were before you forgot that wealth and status are not measures of human worth. I hope they can help you find your way back to being the person you should have been that night." Then the judge turned to Sophia and Emma. She said, "Emma Rodriguez, you are a brave young woman. You survived something that no child should have to survive. You survived a ruptured appendix. You survived sepsis. But most of all, you survived a system that failed you. I hope you grow up to be the veterinarian you dream of being. I hope you never forget that your life has value not because of what you own or what insurance card you carry, but because you are a human being deserving of dignity and care. If this story has moved you, if you believe that Judge Morrison made the right decision, then subscribe to this channel right now. We need you in this community. We need people who care about justice, who care about children like Emma, who believe that privilege should never determine who lives and who dies. Subscribe because we have more stories like this one, more moments of accountability, more examples of systems working the way they should. Hit that subscribe button and join us in demanding better from everyone in positions of power and trust. Dr. Weston stood there as the judge finished speaking. His face was red, his hands were shaking. As the bailiff led him out of the courtroom to begin processing his sentence, he looked back at Sophia one time. Sophia was holding Emma close, tears streaming down her face. Dr. Weston looked away quickly and kept walking. Outside the courtroom, reporters surrounded Sophia. She said through tears, "I just wanted someone to believe me. I just wanted someone to see my daughter as a person who deserved help. That is all any mother wants." Emma held her mother's hand and stayed quiet. She still did not fully understand what had happened, but she knew that something had changed. Dr. Weston's lawyers filed an appeal within 2 weeks. They argued that the sentence was excessive, that permanent license revocation was too harsh, that their client deserved a second chance. The Arizona Court of Appeals reviewed the case for 6 months. On September 14th, they issued their ruling. They upheld every single part of Judge Morrison's sentence. The court wrote in their opinion, "Dr. Weston violated the most sacred trust of his profession. His actions were not a simple mistake in judgment, but a deliberate decision to deny care based on economic status. The sentence imposed by Judge Morrison is appropriate and just." Dr. Weston tried to appeal to the Arizona Supreme Court. They declined to hear the case. The sentence stood. The system, for once, worked exactly as it should. Now here is the part that surprised everyone, including me. Dr. Weston began his community service at a free clinic in South Phoenix 6 weeks after his sentencing. Staff members there said he showed up that first day angry and resentful. He did the bare minimum. He barely spoke to patients. He acted like the work was beneath him. But something changed about 4 months into his service. A mother brought her son to the clinic with an asthma attack. The child was 8 years old, almost the same age as Emma. Dr. Weston examined him and realized the boy needed immediate hospitalization. He helped arrange emergency transport. He stayed with the boy and his mother until the ambulance arrived. The mother, who did not know who Dr. Weston was or what he had done, looked at him with tears in her eyes and said, "Thank you for caring about my son." Staff at the clinic said Dr. Weston broke down crying after that family left. He sat in the break room for 20 minutes just crying. When he came back out, something had shifted. He started arriving at the clinic early. He started spending extra time with patients. He started asking people about their lives, their families, their struggles. He was still required to do 2,000 hours of service, but after 18 months, he had already completed over 3,000 hours and kept showing up. I spoke with the clinic director, a woman named Dr. Reina Morales. She told me, "I did not want Marcus Weston here at first. I fought against it. But I believe people can change if they truly face what they have done. He still has a long way to go. He may never fully understand the harm he caused, but he is trying, and for some people, trying is where redemption begins." Dr. Weston will never practice medicine in a hospital again. His license revocation was upheld in every state, but he continues to volunteer at that free clinic 3 days a week, even after completing his required hours. He lives in a much smaller house now. The Porsche is gone. He has paid the full $500,000 fine. He wrote a public apology to Sophia and Emma that was published in multiple newspapers. Sophia has not responded to it. She does not owe him forgiveness. Emma is 11 years old now. She still wants to be a veterinarian. She has a scar on her abdomen that will never go away. She has nightmares sometimes about that night in the hospital. But she is alive. She is thriving. She is in 5th grade, and her teachers say she is kind to everyone, especially kids who are different or struggling. Sophia says Emma has a gentleness that comes from understanding suffering. I think about this case often, more than almost any other case I have covered. I think about how close Emma came to being another statistic, another child who died because someone decided their life was not worth the effort. I think about how many other families have faced doctors who made the same calculation Dr. Weston made that night. I think about my brother and how different his life might have been if just one person had cared enough to look past our lack of insurance and see a sick child who needed help. This case taught me that systems only work when individuals within them choose to do the right thing. Dr. Martinez chose to do the right thing. Nurse Chen chose to do the right thing. Judge Morrison chose to do the right thing, and maybe, just maybe, Dr. Weston is learning what the right thing looks like. It is not about redemption for him. It is about accountability and the recognition that some failures are too profound to ever fully repair. To anyone watching this who has ever been turned away, who has ever been told you do not matter because of your income or your insurance or where you live, I want you to know something. You matter, your life matters, your child's life matters. What happened to Emma should never happen to anyone, and when it does happen, you have the right to demand accountability. You have the right to expect that the systems designed to protect us will actually protect us. And to anyone watching this who has privilege, who has resources, who works in positions of power over vulnerable people, I am asking you to remember Emma's face. Remember what Dr. Weston's choice almost cost. Remember that every person who comes to you for help is someone's daughter, someone's son, someone's entire world. Your choices have consequences. Your compassion or lack of it can determine whether someone lives or dies. Use your power wisely. Use it with humanity. Thank you for watching this entire story. Thank you for caring about Emma and Sophia and every family who has faced impossible choices in their most desperate moments. Subscribe to this channel and join our family of people who believe that justice matters, that accountability matters, that every human life has equal value regardless of the size of their bank account. We are building a community that believes in shining light on both the failures and the triumphs of our systems. We are building a space where stories like Emma's are told with the gravity and respect they deserve. Subscribe now and be part of something that matters. When you subscribe, you are not just supporting this channel. You are supporting the idea that we will not look away from injustice. You are supporting the belief that every child deserves a Dr. Martinez, not a Dr. Weston. You are supporting accountability and compassion and the basic human dignity that should be every person's birthright. Join us. Stand with us. Fight with us for justice, for compassion, for humanity. Subscribe and let us build the world we want to live in together, starting now.